I mean, all those folks out there in New England land and
Yeah,
across the country.
surprising that the Bills organization didn't fail to didn't get killed off by the Patriots, right?
Yeah, yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I was reading reports about how they were coming unglued, and they didn't. They weren't mentally capable of handling the big moment and overcoming adversity. I mean, they walked into Foxborough and just kicked the Pats straight in the teeth. They didn't punt
Hmm.
once. Isaiah McKenzie was a freaking star that game. Josh Allen, then Isaiah McKenzie. I think he had to be close to double digits, almost 100 receiving yards, a touchdown. He was all over the place. He really filled the void left behind from Cole Beasley testing positive for COVID. And then after we recorded the pod last week, Isaiah McKenzie went down on the COVID list, and he's not vaccinated, so he missed that game. So it was really like Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Isaiah McKenzie, and a quasi semblance of a run game with Devin Singletary. But no, I mean Josh Allen like put this team on his back. Like they marched up and down the field at will. I will say this though, and Jay, I think you would agree with me. Buffalo left a lot of points on
Hmm.
the field. Like it could have
Hmm.
been a 20+ point blowout instead of what the final score actually ended up being if it wasn't for an illegal man downfield that nullified a touchdown, a holding call on a touchdown pass. Like it could have been a lot uglier than what it was. But for everything that was reading going into this game about Buffalo, and I'll be the first one to say it, like they've been the most consistent, inconsistent team in the NFL. Like they don't blow out teams that they should. They don't rise to the occasion against winning teams from time to time. They knew it was on the line. They had to go into Foxborough and enemy territory. They handled their business, and now they're leading the AFC East, and I guess they have close to like a 75-80% chance of winning the division if you look at certain models and statistics and whatnot. So kudos to the Bills doing their thing, handling their business. The defense gave Mac Jones fits at times. I know you're going to hit on Mac Jones, so I'm not going to steal your thunder, but the defense did its job, and they made the coaching staff and the players as a whole for New England kind of look foolish. And
Yeah.
I'll defer the floor to you.
Well, let me start by saying this. The Buffalo Bills organization is still standing in Buffalo, okay? The Patriots did not kill them. Belichick is not inside of Sean McDermott's head. I mean, all these vomit-inducing narratives that most of these Boston, like, sycophants and fanboys, it just makes me nauseous. Like, I'm getting to the point now where, like, I punch my phone every time I read some of these narratives that they come up with. Let's start with Sean McDermott. I think he outcoached Belichick. On the first drive, he went for it on fourth down and scored that touchdown. And immediately on the next drive, Bill Belichick started going for it on fourth downs. When's the last time you saw Bill Belichick be that aggressive with Mac Jones? And right then and there, I knew Sean McDermott dragged Belichick onto his play field and said, "You're gonna play by my rules today," right? That's number one. And I think he had a hell of a game. Secondly, Josh Allen, dude, the guy was just absolutely phenomenal. Like I cannot believe I've come so quickly turned around on a player that I had such negative feelings for 2 years ago. But I just go off the latest performance and the stats and what he's doing, and he's playing out of his mind right now. I mean, he basically put the team on his back, like you said, Puma. He went up and down the field. Bill Belichick had absolutely no answer for him whatsoever. And it tells me a lot that Josh Allen and Brian Daboll had a great game plan for everything Bill Belichick threw at those guys. Because on the first drive, they played a lot of zone. And Josh Allen drove the ball down, scored 7 points, and the next drive, Bill Belichick did throw a little wrinkle into there. He threw a little bit of a man wrinkle where at that point he started playing a little bit more man, realizing they went down the field way too quick on the first drive. We got to do something here. And when that happened, Josh Allen started immediately, and he ran for I believe it was 15 yards. Basically, everybody turned their backs, started playing man. He saw the big hole, he just ran. And from that moment on, I saw Bill Belichick go back to zone because he realized, oh shit, I can't do that now either. I feel like that kind of run scared those guys a little bit on the Patriots coaching staff. So they went back to zone and they didn't do anything different until late in the fourth quarter. So you could see that Sean McDermott, Brian Daboll, and Josh Allen dictated onto Belichick what they wanted to do, and that's not something you can say much of, right?
No, I mean you can't. And again, like it was 3 weeks ago, and it was, this is the 2001 Patriots. They just embarrassed the Bills. This is a franchise-shaking loss. They're coming unglued, And it's like, stop it. All those people, like, I hate picking out individuals, but to hell with it, I'm going to do it. Like Greg Bedard
He's an ass
and
clown.
Beadle, like they were peddling that narrative of, oh man, the organization's done. They're coming unglued. It's like, no, like this is, you were putting the cart way before the horse. Like they were massively inconsistent team. But going into that game, you asked me on the last episode who has the most heat right now. Is the coaching staff of Josh Allen, and I put most of the heat on the coaching staff of Daboll and Sean McDermott. And I mean, you want to talk about answering the bell. I mean, they answered the bell and they were like bully Mike Tyson in his prime in that game. Like they weren't taking any prisoners. They were scheming things up. I think Josh Allen ended the day with about 65 rushing yards.
64. Yep.
So 64. So I mean, he was really dictating the pace of the game, the everything going on, and you know he's not going to win MVP. Like, listen, I'm not saying he's going to win MVP this year, but if you look since that the Patriots loss where they came back against the Buccaneers, in that game, and just he's been stacking performances because now I think he and that coaching staff and the team as a whole understand that the margin for error is so slim now they couldn't lose out anymore. So they had to really turn the corner, run the table, get after it, and they have to win this division instead of going to a wild card round. And with how COVID's been ramping up, like it's better to have a chance at division. Like we saw the Chiefs have a COVID outbreak last week. Like it's not beyond the realm to say other teams can have that issue. Maybe they sneak their way up to the number 1 seed if things fall a certain way. But I don't think they're going to get higher than 3 or 4. But it's never beyond the realm of possibility you could improve your seeding chances. And I think the Bills understood that, and they really adapted well on the fly. And, kudos to the coaching staff because a lot of people were turning up that heat on McDermott and Daboll.
Yeah. And I think something happened at halftime of the Buccaneers game where they were down by so much. And a lot of it is Josh Allen just putting the team on his back and playing at an insane level. And what I've seen out of Josh Allen, I rarely see out of NFL quarterbacks. I've seen it out of the great ones when it's Tom Brady and, he goes on a big drive at the end of the game and he basically puts the game away. But you're starting to see, Josh Allen have a little bit of that killer instinct in him, right? I use the word soul snatching quite a bit because he's done it a couple times this year where he'll go on soul snatching drives against the Chiefs early on this year and then against the Patriots where you can just see play by play, he's taking away the soul of the Patriots. He's taking away the soul of the opponent, and they're getting more and more dejected. And that's something great to see out of a young quarterback like that because, obviously it's a building block, and down the road, if he keeps building on this, he can get to great Hall of Fame levels. But you're just seeing a guy in full control of the quarterback position, understanding what the defense is trying to do to him, and not forcing the ball downfield. You saw a lot of checkdowns early just to kind of put those linebackers in the Patriots linebackers in flux or in rub, essentially trying to figure out what they want to do because a lot of the cover was cover 2 for the Patriots. So it's just good to see, and I'm glad for Josh Allen. And it's just something that there's a good chance that this team will play the Patriots again in the playoffs, and that's going to be all tiebreaker for the season.
Right. And real quick before we move off the Bills, I mean, some of those plays, Jay, like he's rolling to his right, he's throwing across his body through to the middle of the field, which is normally a big freaking no-no. But the kid's got a howitzer. Some of those throws, man, like chef's kiss, like incredible.
Well, he's playing Madden out there on rookie level because on 4th and 2, he essentially takes the ball on a bootleg. He has, was it Judon or I forget who it was, a linebacker and J.C. Jackson right there in good position to stop him from converting that 4th down. But he sidestepped one and he jukes another one and J.C. Jackson goes flying to the linebacker and he gets 9 yards on that carry. Like, I mean, he's just playing backyard Madden-esque football, even down by the goal line on the last drive where he's rolling out to the left and you see Dawson knocks over and he just pitches it to him. I mean, that's the stuff you can't teach. That's the stuff that is just elite. And, we'll get to Mac Jones here in a second, but, that's something when you're watching. It's so depressing for a Patriots fan to watch what's happening with Mac Jones and realizing no matter how good he ever gets, he's never going to be in that realm of Josh Allen just because the physical tools aren't there. He can't possibly be that great. The fact that Josh Allen threw for 314 yards and then ran for 64 more yards, he's the leading rusher as well of the team. I mean, that just speaks volumes to where this kid has come to.